Hey, I'm Randy, and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. Here at The Cheap Audio Man, we talk about high-value, hi-fi home theater and headphones. And today we're talking about the Sivga SV021s. It's a closed-back headphone for $150. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about the Sivga SV021. Today's sponsor is Sith Audio Comic Books, Star Wars, number 107. It says it's their last issue. Look at that. We got Lando Calrissian. He's smoking a cigar. Chewbacca's holding him around the waist with love. And then Luke Skywalker's got his sleeves off. It's the gun show. Luke Skywalker gun show. And then looks like there's a couple of space rabbits in there. Star Wars. Number 107. It's the last issue. Real good. Real good. Not in print anymore. I don't know why they're even sponsoring a video of mine. The Sivga's SV021 closed back headphone. These come in two colors. This one is called black, but it's actually brown. And it's a quite nice color of brown. Wooden ear cups. Very nice ear pads, very deep. They feel like fake leather, but they could be real leather. I don't think they're real leather, but they feel like real leather. Very nice headband with different colored stitching. Metal here, metal here, metal here. Yeah, pretty good. You know, I've reviewed a lot of headphones lately and listened to a lot of headphones, and there's a lot of more expensive headphones that aren't built nearly as well as this one. So bravo. Very good. There is absolutely nothing to complain about on build quality on these for $150. They do a pretty good job of isolation because my voice sounds very strange right now. Very good curve. Fits the head well. Not super clampy, but they don't fall off when I do that. That's a good thing. They're very comfortable. I've got zero complaints about these. Not a clamping force complaint, not an ear pad complaint, not a headband complaint. It's all very good. It's about as good as you can get. These ear cups I'm going to try not to break it. I had them off earlier. They kind of swivel and then they click. There we go. Okay, so they do come off. They're very deep inside, which is nice. And they're shaped like an ear, which is also nice. However, if you want to change out the pads, one is going to have to get creative. Why? Because these are glued on to this thingy right here. And this is nice. I do like this a lot because it clicks into place. Also, somebody put some design into this because this matches up perfectly with the driver. They did a good job of designing this. If you want a different pad though, I don't know how easy it's going to be to get it. Good news is this pad's already really good, so I didn't feel like I needed to change it. Quite comfortable, and the sound is quite nice. Speaking of drivers, this one is a 50mm polycarbonate driver. They say they use that because it doesn't deform and therefore mess with the sound at all. So it sounds really good. Sounds awesome. We'll get more into sound. Also has some little slits on top. I don't know if that's for bass venting. I imagine it is, but it doesn't bleed out. So sound doesn't really bleed out. Very good. Light, small, very good. So they come with a fabric covered cord. It terminates into two 2.5mm that go into the ear cups and then a 3.5mm on the bottom, which also comes with a regular old, big headphone adapter thing, 6.3mm, I believe. If you want to run these balanced, you can just find a 2.5mm ear cup termination, and then 2.5mm or Pentagon or XLR, whatever it is. So this 2.5 is very common amongst monolith headphones as well as some of the older hi-fi headphones. Going to be plenty of cables with 2.5mm terminations for the ear cups into whatever balanced cable you would like to purchase. These are pretty easy to drive. 32 ohm, 105 dB of sensitivity, and I was able to drive these off of really anything. Computer, tablet, regular phone if it has a 3.5 millimeter jack, or a 3.5 millimeter to lightning adapter for the iPhone, or a standalone DAC, which I use, or a dongle DAC, which I use, of course, the Hi-Diz S9 Pro dongle DAC, as well as the Dragonfly Red dongle DAC. Very, very good on everything. But don't worry about it if you don't have a DAC or a headphone amp, because these don't need it to get to a comfortable listening level. You may want to check into a dongle DAC or standalone DAC if you are after the utmost in sound quality. Spoiler alert, these are very good on the lightning to 3.5 millimeter dongle DAC thing that you can get for $10 or less from Apple. And that is a DAC. It's taking a digital signal, doing the conversion, and then pumping it out into a 3.5 millimeter connection, which is an analog connection. So digital to analog. Very good. The best $10 DAC you can get, or $8 DAC. They come in a box with a hemp bag, a cable, the adapter, and the headphones. So there's no fancy case or anything, and that's just fine, because for $150, these are great just the way they are. They're small, so you can just throw them in your bag. You know, put them in their little carrying case, or get yourself a little neoprene thick bag. You'll be fine with them. Okay, sound signature wise, these are a V-shaped or U-shaped headphone. What does that mean? It means you're going to get some thickness and some boost on the bass. It means you're going to get some sparkly highs. Part of that mid-range is going to be scooped out a bit. If one is into rock and roll, EDM, metal, I think this thing does a good job with all of those. But if you're into singer-songwriter or anything else, it still did a good job. Mumford & Sons' I Will Wait still did a really good job. I really enjoyed it. A little bit of sibilance, a little hint of sibilance in there, but overall I wasn't missing anything on it. And even with any recessed mid-range, it still sounded quite good. His voice was very detailed. Angry Chair by Alice in Chains. Now, we're talking about some very thick, visceral, lower guitars, the growl, the crunch, the ooh, yeah, all that on Angry Chair by Alice in Chains. And I hadn't listened to that song for a long time, so when it popped up on my music randomly, kind of took me by surprise. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot how good this song is. Coming Undone by Korn. Ooh, mama. These are very thick, lower electric guitars, thick bass line, but also detailed at the same time. Real, real nice. In Bloom by Nirvana. That song was a bit hot on the top end, a little bit of sibilance. So the top end of this is tilted up, and it gives one the impression of a ton of clarity. Now, while these are clear, they're not hyper detailed. It's just the treble is more apparent, and that treble is more apparent probably around the 4 to 6K area. So it can be a bit spicy on top in the 4 to 6K range. Now, one can mitigate that with, well, what type of DAC one is using or what type of source one is using. So when I listen to these off of just a 3.5 millimeter connection on my Android phone and my Android tablet, wasn't that big of an issue. When I hooked it up to the Hi-Diz S9 Pro, which is a very detailed, clear DAC, I did notice that the 4 to 6K range was pretty apparent. However, it wasn't enough to make me be like, ugh, I don't like these. And frankly, I watched the live performance of Korn at the Brixton Academy, I think from 2017, and none of the issues that I had currently or previously heard on the headphone came up. It literally became a non-issue. I just started listening to them. And these headphones, I think, broke in a bit, or my ears broke in, or the pads broke in a little bit, because they just seemed fun. They didn't seem rude in any way or obnoxious in any way. They just sounded good. And the more I listened to them and the less I evaluated them, the more I enjoyed them. This is by no means a perfect headphone. If one is after the utmost neutrality, this is not the headphone for you. But I do have a fair number of affordable closed-back headphones in the house, including Audio-Technica M50X. Everybody knows about this thing. the AKG K361s. The Audio-Technica are just flat out intense. No soundstage per se, it's just intense. These are a much funner version without being nearly as intense and actually having a bit of soundstage. All of the live records that I heard, there was a sense of space and volume of where the music is coming from. On the Audio-Technicas, it's there. It's just, there is no, it is just the music, hardcore in your face. There's no finesse to it. These Sivga 021s have a bit of finesse, and these are quite a bit lighter than the Audio-Technicas. As far as the AKG K361s go, this to me sounds funner. A lot thicker bass though, so thickness, it's like a slab, like if someone caught a big catfish and then they whop, threw it onto a picnic table. The thwop, that's what it sounds like on some bass hits like Highway to Hell by AC/DC. That bass drum should be pretty tight, but it sounded like someone threw a catfish on a picnic table. Also, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up if you like it. Even if you don't like it, give it a thumbs up, or give it a thumbs down if you don't like it, or you don't like me personally. Although I don't know how you wouldn't like me personally, because I don't really know many of you. Some I do, because my patrons and I are buddies. Killing Strangers by Marilyn Manson. All I can say is wow. That one, boom. I mean, just the intensity of the initial part of that song with the percussion, very good. This thing does really well with electronic music. Now, I am by no means an aficionado of EDM or electronic music. The extent of my electronic music really comes from Nine Inch Nails and the Korn record, Path to Totality, where they had some dubsteppy stuff going on there. Very good. And I think this headphone is going to appeal to a lot of people that are, again, into rock, into metal, into EDM. It just sounds really good. While tilted up on top, this headphone doesn't kill you with clarity, which means if anything is not recorded super great, or maybe a mediocre recording, you're not really gonna hear it. It's gonna sound like you're hearing all the details, but you're not really hearing all the details, and that is actually a good thing on these headphones. So more music is going to sound better with these, and one is going to feel like they're getting a lot of detail and a lot of spice on top, because you are. It's just tilted up. Doesn't mean you're hearing all those details. It just feels like you're hearing all the details. Cymbals can be a bit hot, especially if you have that Hi-Diz S9 Pro. So some of the cymbal crashes can be a bit hot. Seems a little bit brief, but again, after I just spent some time with these and just let them live on my head for a while, that stopped being an issue for me. It never really was an issue, but I stopped thinking about it. It stopped jumping out. And these headphones really became one of my favorites to listen to in bed, because they do have good isolation, they're lightweight, and they sound fun. These headphones, love them some Tool. They like you some Tool. Anyway, they sound real good on Eulogy by Tool. Just about anything by Tool. Everything by Tool. Overall, what are you getting with this headphone? Number one, you're getting excellent build quality. 2, they're pretty good looking. 3, they're light. 4, they have awesome pads. 5, they have a very good, engaging, surface area touching headband, so you're not going to get hot spots. 6, they're easy to drive. 7, they sound awesome with rock and roll. They're going to sound awesome with just about anything, but if you are just into maybe classical or orchestral soundtracks or jazz or something like that, maybe not for you. If you're into rock and roll, if you're into EDM, if you're into metal, anything else, I know I'm probably beating a dead horse at this point. Hard look at these. $150, probably the best $150 headphone from a build standpoint. From a sound standpoint, they sound very good. Maybe a bit offensive in that 4 to 6K range if you have a very detailed DAC going with them, but I got used to it and it sounds great. Another thing is, I didn't feel like these were fatiguing in any way. Even though they're tilted way up, that means they must be a nice scoop in front of 4K, so probably 2K scooped out a little bit. Highly recommended. 150 bucks. I don't think you can go wrong with these. If you know what you're getting yourself into and you know you like this sound signature, which is a V or a U, great. Probably the best deal in V-shaped headphones you can get. Love them. So if you want to support the channel, you can sign up for Patreon. Patreon.com/cheapaudioman. Every Sunday night we have Patreon-only Zooms. We also have a Patreon-only Facebook group. You can also sign up for Amazon Music. There's a link in the description. Click on it. You get a whole many months for free. I get a couple of bucks, and you can always cancel. You can also use the link to buy this headphone. That will be an affiliate link, which means I'll get a commission if you click and buy through it. It doesn't cost you any more, but I do get a commission. So don't binge watch anything unless you're maybe a soundtrack or something. Binge listen through your new Sivga SV021s. Fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.